Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw, it's that time again. A new Pokemon has dropped in Aeos Island and I'm going to tell you whether or not you should buy Dhelmise. And this is actually going to get pretty interesting here very soon because after the next release, which is Vaporeon, I think everything else that is coming to the game will be on that new license journey situation. So it may no longer be should you buy, it may be should you prioritize unlocking. Hopefully more information coming on that very soon. But let's talk about Dhelmise, the newest all-rounder that has just dropped in Unite. We have Vaporeon next week, so two releases very, very close to each other. Dhelmise is interesting. So I think from a lot of people watching it on stream, we streamed it about like, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours or so. I think for a lot of people watching on stream, most people walked away feeling like Dhelmise was pretty good. Like if we're talking about power level, Dhelmise was pretty good, but not at all broken. And that's about where I would rate it as well. I don't know exactly where it would fall on a tier list this second, but I'm thinking somewhere like B plus feels about right. It's like, it's not at all bad. In fact, one of its moves, kind of two of its moves are pretty dang good. I also think two of its moves are varying levels of not great, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But let's just take a look at the Pokemon real quick here. Where are we at? Your attack, your basic attack is just that you hit your opponents by slamming into their body, by slamming your body into them. You get a shield when a set amount of time has passed. You also have this ability where a portion of your shields, when they expire, become HP, and your boosteds deal additional damage when they kind of have that set amount of time pass. It's like not, I feel like the most amazing or interesting passive. And then you have the moves Payback and Bulldoze to start. Both of them are pretty good. Payback's a little difficult to time, like the extra damage or whatever that you would get if a user is attacking you, but I've found it's pretty good on wild Pokemon. You just hit them, they go to hit you, and then you pay back and do some damage. It's nice for securing. And Bulldoze also pretty good. It's just a move that attacks kind of in a line in front of you, hits everything, it doesn't stop at any target, and knocks targets up, which is pretty good. Then you have the choice, and this is kind of where I feel like the big decision comes in for Dhelmise, but in my opinion, there really isn't much of a decision. You either play Power Whip or Whirlpool, and then you either play Anchor Shot or Heavy Slam. In my opinion, and I'll have some videos coming out on this Pokemon as well, but in my opinion, Power Whip and Anchor Shot are the only two moves you should be playing for this Pokemon. I do think there's some room for Heavy Slam, but in general, I think Power Whip, Anchor Shot is by far the better combination. One thing is for sure, 100% no question, Power Whip is better than Whirlpool in every single way. Whirlpool is fully terrible. For whatever it's worth, Whirlpool is fully terrible. I just have to get that out there right now. This move's the worst. You get a cooldown on it as you hit with your auto attacks, which sounds like it might be good, but it's not. And then every time you use it, for the third time, you generate a whirlpool around you, which doesn't do enough damage and stops you from auto attacking. And I genuinely do not like this move at all. Power Whip, on the other hand, is great. It provides, it like does really strong damage, especially on the outer rim of it. It leaves your opponents unable to act briefly, and it gives you a great shield. This move is awesome. It rocks. Whirlpool is the opposite. And then you have the Unite move, Seaweed Snare. This is actually really cool. It's a sure hit. It's a long-range sure hit that is kind of like a reverse Blissey. Like you are going to your opponents on this long-range sure hit. The damage is not at all considerable, but some of the stuff that you are able to pull off because you set up a play like this is really, really cool. Picking up some wild KOs, diving to your opponent's back line, all of that's really fun. It has the difficulty listed as intermediate for Dhelmise. I'd say that's about right. It's not the most difficult thing in the world, but it doesn't have the most generous leveling curve, right? Obviously, you start just as Dhelmise, but you get your moves at 5 and 7. If you were getting your moves at 4 and 6, this would be a lot easier. 5 is a little tricky in some ways, but once you hit 5, you get Power Whip, and Power Whip is very, very good. So A lot of what I think people think about when it's time to decide whether or not they should buy a Pokemon really is how this Pokemon plays and then how powerful it is. So I've already kind of talked about the power level, and I don't think I would change my mind too much on that either way. I think with the one move set, Power Whip and Anchor Shot, it's pretty good. Maybe with Power Whip and Heavy Slam, it's also kind of good. Very enemy team comp dependent, I would say. Heavy Slam is just kind of clunky. It doesn't cast fast enough. It doesn't have long enough range. Yeah, it's just awkward. But Anchor Shot's great. It's the hook, right? It is what is pulling your opponents to you, so you can set up some big plays. It has kind of an unfortunate interaction where when you pull your opponents to you, they bounce off of your chest, it feels like. So they're positioned in a good spot for Power Whip, oddly enough, but kind of a bad spot to keep them right next to you, which is what you want. I found that Razor Claw helps out a lot with that, so you can like bring them close, auto them with the Razor Claw, get that slow on there. But in general, I think the power level of this Pokemon is decent. As far as playstyle, I don't love when a Pokemon seems to only have one viable moveset. I always think it's cool when a new Pokemon comes out and you could see playing it either way, and especially when either way feels pretty different. With Dhelmise, even if the other movesets were decent, I do think they feel very similar. Like Whirlpool and Power Whip feel quite similar. They're both just kind of swipes that act in a different way. And then Anchor Shot and Heavy Slam are like kind of similar but opposite, if that makes sense. Anchor Shot pulls them towards you. Heavy Slam has you move forward with a stun. So I think even if the other moves were better, I do think this Pokemon feels very samey for all of its movesets, which is a little unfortunate. And I also think something to be considered when we're talking about how it plays is how much fun you are having with some of these moves. I will say, for fun factor, its Unite move and Anchor Shot both are really fun. These are really, really fun moves. Power Whip is fun only because it's so good. It kind of feels pretty smooth the way you interact with it. Like you move as you swing it. You get a really chunky shield. It does good damage, so you get good secures. I think all of that like leaves this Pokemon feeling pretty fun. Like I feel like they often make Pokemon that are enjoyable to play, and I think Dhelmise is pretty enjoyable to play, but I do think its kit leaves a bit to be desired when you purchase a new Pokemon. I think you might be excited, like something like Armarouge, for example. You might be excited to try the long-range version, or you can play the close-up one where you're brawling with your opponents. I think it's cool to have that. I don't feel like you get that much with Dhelmise. I think you're kind of stuck with one sort of playstyle, which I will say is pretty dang fun. I also think something to talk about with the Pokemon is whether or not you think they will be balanced and in what way they will be balanced. So if it were up to me, I think you would slightly buff maybe its general, like something general on its kit, probably its Unite move. You would probably buff it slightly because it just feels like not that impactful. You might also buff a little bit of its durability or something like that, because it feels like an all-rounder slash tank. And then for its moves, Power Whip and Anchor Shot, I bet you wouldn't buff those at all. They're fine. For Whirlpool and Heavy Slam, you would buff both of those. I can't see a reality at all where you would nerf something on this Pokemon. Period. There doesn't seem to be any way in my mind that you would nerf it. So if you're watching it and you like the playstyle, I can't imagine a reality where this thing gets nerfed. That much is pretty cool. If you like the playstyle, I think it's going to be like this, maybe even better once some of its moves are buffed. But you are seeing what you get. It's going to perform like this. Overall, I like it a lot. I think it's interesting. We've got a couple more releases before this new licensed journey thing. I don't know how exactly coins are going to transfer into licenses and how licenses are going to move into this new system cost-wise. The early buzz we're hearing on it is some things are going to be cheaper. Some things might be slightly more than they have been before, like relatively. But I don't know exactly what the system is going to look like. So I think deciding what you are going to buy right now is very, very important. My overall take on this is I think Vaporeon is going to be better and it's going to be looked after more by the devs. So if I were to pick one of the two, I would be buying Vaporeon most likely, and I would be skipping Dhelmise. But if you are looking for a playstyle with a hook like this that sets up really fun plays, you're really not going to find it in too many other spots. And again, I think this Pokemon could be buffed in the future. My overall take on buying something right now is I don't know if I can fully recommend it because we have this whole new system coming. That's my thought on should you buy Dhelmise. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I love you. I'll see y'all next time. We did it.